members have a good question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Minister, and thank you, Minister, for the work that you've done out in Doha. I don't think it got the coverage it deserved. I'll put it that way. But saying that also, I do believe it's quite a weak deal. And I don't think that reflects on yourself. We are heading to towards a warmer world, and the reports that you received out there from PwC, the World Bank, and the UN already marks that there's a lack of willingness to translate the discussions and talks out there into action. It's looking at the coverage, it's noticeable that there is a coalition, and I notice you played a role in the coalition of the willing, as it's been called now, about trying to move forward. I think Ireland needs to play a leading role in that coalition. And you used words there in your presentation about milestone, landmarks. We want to look at it that other countries are moving far too slow, and there has to be a quickness to it. The one criticism that I would have, Minister, and from the very first day I was here, I've been looking for the heads of bills, and I really don't find it acceptable that on the last day, the last hour, the last minute, that we see the head of bills from the next cabinet meeting. If we want to have that leadership role, Ireland itself must move much quicker in producing the head of bills. So when we start laying out our roadmap from the head of bills for next year, I want to be seen hitting those targets far in advance. We need.
We set out last January.
I didn't need it in front of me, Minister.
And what does it say about the head?
The head that you'd happen with by the end of the year.
Correct.
But I'm looking at it, it's getting dealt with.
December.
Sorry, Minister, it's getting dealt with at the last cabinet meeting. The last hour and the last minute.
Read what I said.
Look at the but Minister.
You have the point. Move it on.
Well, no, hold on a second. It's the Minister that's interrupting me.
No.
Okay.
Move it on.
So I'm just saying, Minister, to me, it's not acceptable. Yeah, and when we were here, when we were discussing about the roadmap, that you were, and you want to go back over the minutes of the meetings, you were saying that you hope to hit them much earlier.
No,
and actually, we're seeing is we're actually hitting them at the last minute.
No.
So, well, look, I'm quite prepared to go back and look myself and apologise if I'm wrong.
Look at yourself.
But I'm disappointed that we're only getting to it now. I'm disappointed is if you look at the group that are not getting involved at Doha. Like, I was surprised to see the disappointing rules of people I thought had a kind of a role model in the whole climate change of Canada and New Zealand. I thought they would be much more progressive. And I think we need to try and encourage them more along the line. But I'm just going to leave it, because other speakers want to, but really, when we start laying out the roadmap next year for this committee, I think we need to move as quickly as possible on it and not be hitting the targets towards the end, but rather at the beginning.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Well, I think that Deputy Humphreys, I thought would actually give us credit for actually hitting every part of the roadmap that I outlined last January, but I'm not going to get into nitpicking about whether we hit it a week or two earlier or a week or two later. What I set out last January, I've hit, and you can tell the NGOs that as well, that I've hit every particular target that was outlined in that roadmap. I'm the first Minister for the Environment to do that, and we will not be having an abstract discussion about these matters, because we already have EU legislation that we must comply with in a legally binding way anyway. So I've sent over exactly what the roadmap set out, and I've hit every milestone on it. The second thing is, I just want to say to you that if some of the NGOs were present at Doha, which they weren't on this occasion, they would have noticed that we almost had a shambles in Doha in relation to the outcome. And we didn't, because of the European Union leadership. And I was present at a lot of the meetings with the Cypriots as part of the presidency team, where you could see where this could end up in a very difficult situation, and where we would have gone backwards from the Durban platform that was agreed in 2011. So, you have to take that in the round. So we didn't go backwards. We have now a work programme set out, a work plan under the Durban platform. We have a second commitment period from 2013 to 2020 agreed under Kyoto, which wasn't at all easy within the European Union to achieve, particularly, as I said earlier, in relation to the difficulties that the Polish government had and other member states in Eastern Europe. But we got them to a unified position. That took compromise all round. So far from some of the disappointments that you might have expressed, I can assure you that it would have been far more disappointing if I was reporting here on a failure at Doha. We now have a roadmap, again, if we could use that word, between now and 2015, that hopefully we will be able to convince the Canadians and the New Zealanders and the Chinese and the Russians to come on board, and the United States to show some leadership for once and for all, where 85% of all the emissions come from, to say that they're taking this particular matter seriously and that they are taking climate change seriously and they understand the impacts it's going to have on the planet but also on the people that are living on it, and that our resources are finite. And that by 2015 that we'll be able to get that agreement. In the context of any domestic policy or international policy, I will come back to the committee on a regular basis and brief you on how we're getting on, and also we will include all members of the committee in any of the communications from time to time arising from the meetings that we'll have as well. So everyone will be fully up to date.
Thank you, Minister.